Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Deep with Prussman. How are you? Today we have a very special guest. And this is a show, a newer show I'm doing. It's a one-on-one interview with interesting people. We peel away the onion. We really get to know what they do and what they're working on. And we have a really exciting guest today. This guy I interviewed a few years ago on Bob and Levy and I had a show called Ears Wide Open. And he was literally my favorite guest. And because I'm really into this type of stuff. And he's an investigator, and he's working on some huge things right now. You probably will see him and hear him in the news. Without further ado, let me introduce you to Ed Opperman, everybody. Ed, hello. Thank you for being deep.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed meeting you. Like you said, the last interview we did, and we've stayed in contact on Facebook and stuff like that, always posting beautiful photographs of yourself.
Thank
it really
you.
It cheers me up, man, during my miserable day.
Oh. So I think I have a little feedback, and I hear myself in your but thank you for your kind words. I am hearing myself in the echo, but that's okay. I will fix that. So anyway, so you're an investigator, and right now, so tell me a little background about exactly and then we'll talk about what you're working on right now, which is really exciting and kind of interesting. So, so you have an investigation firm. I remember you were doing something with email. What was it? Email? What's your name?
Emailrevealer.com.
Emailrevealer.com. So, what is that? Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, well, I'm a private investigator, just like you see all private investigators. We do legal, criminal defense work and stuff like that. When I got started, I worked on some big cases in New York, some big organized crime cases, the Persico trial and the Pizza Connection trial and the Commission trial, a lot of big organized crime cases.
So when you mean investigator, so just tell me what an investigator, so you're going to tell me what exactly an investigator does? Like, that sounds pretty like are you a detective? Do you have a police background?
No, I have no police background at all. I started on criminal defense work. I started on the other side.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and on those cases, back in those days, Rudy Giuliani was the guy prosecuting those cases.
Wow.
Then, years later on, I became friends with Giuliani back when he was running for mayor. But, private investigator, you do, it's an amazing thing. Really, I guess the one description would be people come to you with their problems and you solve their problems for them.
Well, I have a lot of them, actually. You can say.
Yeah, It could be a civil litigation. It could be your husband's cheating on you. You're being extorted. You're being blackmailed. You need someone to deal with that. Cyber stalking online. All different kinds of cases. I'm also a digital forensic investigator.
What does that mean?
Okay, what that means is people will send me their cell phone or their hard drive, their computer hard drive, and I'll capture the information off of those devices. I'll undelete deleted information, and then we reduce it to a report that can be used in court.
Wow.
Okay, so I've used my, I was when digital forensics started on cell phones, I was right there at the beginning when it all started. And I've done some big cases with that. I did all the cell phones of the Tiger Woods case.
Oh, wow. So you investigated all the women to him and all that stuff?
Every time a woman came forward that said she had slept with Tiger Woods, they would go to my agent at the time, who was the agent for all the mistresses.
Okay.
And they would send us their phone, and we would try and go through their phone records. What proof did we have that we could say, hey, this woman really had an affair with Tiger Woods? And that's why we stopped at 15, because we just couldn't do it anymore. It was just too much. There was many, many more women who were coming forward that maybe they did, and maybe they didn't.
We don't know. So it was half of them were.
Yeah.
Did everyone check out for the most part?
There was only like out of the 15, like 17 or 18 that I went through. There were only a couple that we couldn't find sufficient evidence to say, hey, we have something to a toehold here to prove that this woman had some kind of a date or a relationship with Tiger Woods.
Right, and the reason why, it wasn't a criminal. He didn't do anything criminal, so why was it investigated so hard? Was it for his marriage, his divorce? Is that what?
No. This was for the media.
I'm like, well, it's not criminal. It's not we're looking for rape. We're just looking for for the media's nosy bodiness, I guess, right? Sort of.
So that their agent could sell their story, market their stories, and sell their photographs. Yeah.
That's kind of. That's weird because just being objective, for a second. It's almost weird because like all he did was like have an affair, which is not nice on his wife, but like and then the media hires you and just digs deep into all his whole like sex life and his everything and these women, and it was bizarre how like people make money off of other people's transgressions. I think it's kind of fascinating.
Listen, the guy's no saint either, okay?
No. I wasn't going to sound judgmental, like, because I sounded a little judgmental there.
There's a lot.
I'm like, well,
okay.
Oh, but none of us are angels, really. Look at me. I'm sticking up for this Tiger Woods now. Okay.
Yeah, one of these girls dating, he met her when she was his babysitter, when she was a little teen babysitter.
Wow.
Yeah, Tiger Woods is no saint in my book.
No, but I'm saying, I mean, he sucks as a husband, but in reality, all he did was just sleep with women like every other scumbag does. But it's
the guy does.
It's interesting, like what the media will go to. I just feel like, at what point is it just like too much? Like, so let's talk about something, what you're working on now, which is why you kind of sent me a press release. You're working on the Epstein Trump case, the Katie Doe, what was it called? Or Jane Doe that came by that someone had sex underage. Is that what what's going on? And let's talk about that.
I had first heard about the Jeffrey Epstein story about his arrest, this billionaire down in Palm Beach, who was luring these little middle school girls to his mansion on the pretense of giving him a massage.
I did hear that. I heard that story back then. Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, right. So when I first did my first story on this back in 2013, no one heard of this story. No one knew who Epstein was. I couldn't even find a guest to come on the show and talk about it.
Really?
Until I found Robert Morrow, who wrote the book about the Clinton War on Women. He's a Roger Stone ghostwriter back at the time. He hates Roger Stone now.
Okay.
But I had him come up. He was familiar with the story, so we talked about it. But even he didn't really know the whole story, so I did the second half by myself.
Wow.
Just telling what happened. I was reporting on this for years, okay, from 2013 up until 2015. I was trying to pitch this around because I became like the expert on the story, and I was trying to pitch it. And a lot of big radio stations and stuff like that, big shows, didn't want to touch it back then.
Really? Why didn't they want to touch it? Because there was enough information, or like what would be the reason? Was it because he was so powerful and big, or he would hurt somebody?
He pled guilty, so it's not like there wasn't enough information.
Right. So why would people were afraid to touch the story? Because of it was like it was sex trafficking. I'm confused.
Well, yeah, there was back in those days. This is before Pizzagate, before Me Too. A lot of stations, a lot of hosts didn't want to talk about pedophilia or sex trafficking at all.
Really?
They were hesitant to talk about that.
Well, with Jared, they did when Jared got arrested, but that was kind of similar. But I mean, it was actually different because it made me seem more predatory because it was Jared. I don't know. Less powerful.
There's a lot more to Jared. There's a lot more to Jared that's been reported. Okay, if you go back to my shows, oh my God. First of all, Subway knew all about what Jared was doing. Okay, there's texts, there's emails and stuff like that where they're talking to this woman who was reporting him to his supervisors at Subway, and they were telling her, "Oh, don't worry, he's married now and he's calmed down." Okay, I can really get pissed off if we start talking about this. People should go back. Yeah, the Jared thing has been covered up. People should go back to my archives at Spreaker.com, Spreaker.com. It's free. You can go there for free and just Google Opperman, Jared Fogle, or Opperman Subway, and you'll find those old shows. I've done a lot of reports.
Really? Wow.
Oh, yeah.
So
I'm disgusted by Subway
he's worse.
And by Jared.
So they knew he was like diddling kids, basically.
There were tape recordings. A woman had him on tape talking about this stuff and trying to get him arrested years before all this. His background goes back when he first met the Subway people. He was living in this apartment above a Subway store where he was selling pornographic videos.
Oh, my God.
His home collection of pornographic videos. We can go on about that for weeks, okay?
Yeah, it's fascinating. Wow. We could go on for a few minutes. We have a few minutes to talk about. So how did they found him because he lost weight because he lived on top of a Subway store and he just ate Subway every day, and then they used him in his ads? Is that how it happened?
That's a good question. I'd have to go back and refresh my memory on exactly how he met them. But it's suspicious to me, okay, that he was working there. He was living in this apartment, renting out his personal collection of pornographic videotapes. and then somehow skyrocketed to this guy who's a Subway spokesperson.
Like child pornography tapes or just regular tapes?
Well, no, we don't know if it's child pornography or not. We know it's pornographic. He admits it's pornographic.
Okay.
But you got to remember, too, they knew there was allegations about this guy with little kids where he was talking to a woman on tape trying to get with her kid. Okay?
Really?
Yes, and she was a franchisee. She was one of the franchisees.
Oh,
I'd really have to go back and refresh my memory to all this. People can go back and find those shows, but it's disgusting.
So he might have got the spokesperson job because he had stuff on, like executives in Subway, perhaps.
Right, it's absolutely a possibility. Because why are they covering up for this guy? Come on, man! You can find spokespeople all over the place. I can find you 10 guys that lost weight.
Right.
Eating
Subway because it was so gross they vomited afterwards.
Because but the thing is, I was reporting on Epstein, okay, monthly. I was doing a report on Epstein. I've probably done about 30, 40 reports since 2013.
Okay.
And I did about 30, 40 guest appearances, too, on the topic. So the attorney for this young girl, Katie Doe came forward right around the time of the election, 2015.
Gotcha.
Right? And I think one reason, too, why a lot of people didn't want to interview me about this is because it would involve Trump, and my emphasis was on the relationship between Trump and Epstein.
Okay.
Right.
They had a relationship. I know that. That's known.
Yeah, and there's a big connection too between Trump and Clinton too.
I know that.
As a matter of fact,
yes.
Yeah, on my website. Yeah, on my website at OffermanReport.com, in my members section, you could download it. I have the 23-page letter that Jeffrey Epstein's attorney, Joe Lefcourt, wrote, claiming, and this is during his plea negotiations, claiming that Jeffrey Epstein was the impetus. He created the Clinton Foundation. Okay? The Clintons have never denied this. The prosecution has never argued about this. It seems to be fact. This is what Jeffrey Epstein and his attorneys proposed. This is what they claim.
Wow. His money.
So
his money is the Clinton Foundation, is what you're saying. Jeffrey Epstein's money. So supposedly...
No, I'm saying he helped create the foundation. Maybe his money is in there or not.
Right,
we don't know that. But
okay.
we know he helped form it. He came up with the idea. He helped the Clintons create it.
Oh, interesting.
We know that. Yeah. There's a lot in this that's not reported that you won't hear on TV on MSNBC.
Not to be conspiracy theorists. So this guy, Jeffrey Epstein, people don't know. I mean, like we were talking about it the other day, a bunch of comedians and I, and we're like, how do he make his money? Like, where'd the money come from? Like, he was a teacher or something, or he did something like that years ago and the next thing he's a billionaire. That's a big jump. Like, I have friends that have, earned a lot of money in hedge funds and in all that investment banking, but, also it's very hard to become a billionaire. It's like, it's a whole nother level.
Okay. Epstein grew up in Brooklyn.
Right.
Coney Island.
That's where I'm from.
He went, right, right? He went to public school in Brooklyn. Welcome back, Cotter. Okay,
that's
Jeffrey
me.
Epstein.
That's Stacey Prussman too, but I didn't rape kids.
Me too. The Bronx. I grew up in the Bronx.
Okay, I didn't rape, but I don't rape children. Okay, neither do you. So there you go.
He doesn't graduate college, but he gets a job teaching at the Dalton School, which is a towny private school,
right in Manhattan. Yes,
right in Manhattan. Right. We find out now that he could have gotten that job through William Barr, the Attorney General's father, who was working at that school at the time.
So this is a guy from Brooklyn. He doesn't graduate college, and then he gets this job as a teacher in a private school without a college degree, which is literally, you can be an assistant teacher, but he was, no, I don't think he can even be an assistant teacher. But he was a full-fledged regular teacher. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly what I'm saying.
Okay,
with
weird.
No college degree. And he doesn't even, there's a deposition too, where he doesn't even deny having sex with his students. He tries to claim that all his students were 17 and 18 years old at the time. But that's a whole other story. He enters into a relationship with one of his female students, according to the tale, platonic relationship, but somehow goes to work for her father at Bear Stearns as a senior vice president. He leaves there when there's some scandal about to brew there. He somehow hightails it out of there just in the nick of time. And he hooks up with this guy named Stephen Hoffenberg, who at the time was the biggest Ponzi schemer before Madoff. He was the biggest one before Madoff.
Wow.
He ran, I guess, the second one.
Okay, so basically, all right, so he left, he teaches at the school, he has his friendship, quote, with a student whose father is in a big wig at Bear Stearns, he becomes a vice president at Bear Stearns from being a teacher just because he's friends with the father without any kind of degree. He's been a teacher of middle schoolish age kids, I'm assuming, or private, high school. And then he just, without like interning or without taking the Series 7, this gentleman, this idiot, whatever, becomes a senior vice president of Bear Stearns.
I don't know about if he took the Series 7 or not. That's pretty much a basic, anybody could take that.
No,
but yeah,
we don't, without qualifications, basically, Yeah,
he wants to welcome back Carter to Bear Stearns, to partners at to Dalton School, to partners at Bear Stearns. He leaves there, hooks up with the biggest Ponzi guy in the world, who calls himself his mentor.
Okay, so it's like a Bernie Madoff guy. Okay.
Right. Hoffenberg. Hoffenberg winds up going to prison for 20 years. Epstein managed to skate away from that one, too, right before the crap hits the fan as well.
Okay. Interesting.
Hoffenberg also had a relationship with Roger Stone, and Hoffenberg later on, when he got out of prison, started a Trump PAC, super PAC for Trump, to raise money for Trump.
Okay. Now, they started the beast, basically.
Yeah. It's huge, the biggest one ever. So anyway, after Epstein leaves that, he hooks up with, what was I going to say, Leslie Wexner, the guy who owns Victoria's Secret and The Limited and Abercrombie and Fitch, those kind of places.
Big,
Hollister, I think.
Yeah, big company.
Right. And supposedly that's his only client. Now, we've come up with some stuff, too, recently that even Wexner was described as an organized crime figure in other police documents back, I think it was Chicago.
Okay.
And it just came out, so we'd have to find that. It's also just come up, too, by Vicki Ward, who's the first reporter to talk about all this in the New Yorker, New York Magazine, Vicki Ward article. She's the one that came up with that famous quote about Jeff Epstein's a wonderful guy. I've known him 15 years. He likes girls on the younger side. She's the one that came up with that quote, Vicki Ward. Excellent reporter. She's just reported that Epstein was working for Adnan Khashoggi, a Saudi billionaire, arms trafficker, alleged drug dealer, admitted sex trafficker, admitted Trump pal. Trump bought Adnan Khashoggi's yacht, the largest, most expensive yacht in the world. Then after buying that yacht from Adnan Khashoggi, he allowed Adnan Khashoggi to continue throwing parties on that yacht like he still owned it.
Wow.
That would include Geraldo Rivera, Michael Jackson, Ann Coulter, characters like that.
Okay. All right. So
Elizabeth Taylor.
So anybody famous, basically. So people like I don't. How do you ingratiate himself to all these people?
Well, Adnan Khashoggi at the time was the richest man in the world. Okay, because he was an arms dealer and he was also a coke dealer. I mean, everybody knows he was smuggling coke. He had his own island in the Bahamas with an airstrip and stuff like that.
Okay.
But it was never. He was involved in Iran-Contra. He was involved. There's some great articles you can find called 6 Degrees of Adnan Khashoggi. And he used to be on that comedy show, Adnan Khashoggi.
Yes.
By the way, he's related to that Khashoggi that was just killed in the Saudi embassy over there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right. The Trump says he's okay. Khashoggi was very close friends with Trump. There's no doubt about that. There's a model who comes forward who says that she was actually passed between them. First she dated Trump, and then Trump passed her on to Khashoggi. Khashoggi was a sex trafficker who used prostitution to get deals and blackmail people and stuff like that. One of the escorts on his staff was Heather Mills, who later on went to marry Paul McCartney.
Oh, really? With a one leg? The one-leg prostitute?
Yeah.
She was a one-leg prostitute.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And that's the one prostitute who never denied sex trafficking. He admitted it when it came to her.
Really?
Now,
why? Because they gave him power?
Adnan Khashoggi, you can go back and find... Oh, by the way, I interviewed his bodyguard one time, Adnan Khashoggi's bodyguard, who wrote a book about this under a secret name and all that kind of stuff. And I located him. I was able to find him.
Wow.
And I called him up. Yeah. And we were talking about all this, and all he kept saying was, but how did you find me? But how did you find me?
Wow. So you found his bodyguard.
Yeah, but you talked about Heather Mills and all that, yeah. But Adnan Khashoggi, go back and the old Robin...
How did you find the bodyguard? Did you
I found him
from a picture? You did a reverse
I got his email address, and I traced the email, and I tricked him into identifying himself.
That's so funny. Wow.
Yeah. What do you call it? But Adnan Khashoggi used to be on Lifestyles and Rich and Famous all the time with Robin Leach.
I knew Robin Leach. I was Me Too'd by Robin Leach back when I was in my 20s.
Oh, yeah. He's a local Vegas guy here, yeah.
Yeah, he's dead now, but he had an island too. He told me he had an island. I don't know if I believed him, but he told me
Really?
yep, Robin Leach's. There was something, unless that island was some, the private island was Jeffrey Epstein's island or one of those guys' islands. Maybe he just said that, but yeah, he said I have an island. So I don't know if he really did or didn't, but.
Well, Geraldo Rivera has an island, so does David Copperfield, and Donald Trump has an island too. That's a short boat ride away from Jeffrey Epstein's island.
Now, is there something with islands like that you could get away with sex trafficking? It just seems like it goes together. like it's like illegal, like it's your own little land or something. Its own private.
Well, once you get them on there, they can't leave without getting on your plane. David Copperfield, one of the women who alleges that she was attacked by David Copperfield and he tried to drown her on his private island.
Oh my God!
She said he took her passport, then they had to drive, this thing and take another little ferry to get to his island. And she tells a horrific story about being targeted and
oh my God.
raped by David Copperfield. Yeah, you can find it as a smoking gun. You can find the court docs.
There's so many stories power with people like these already rich and powerful guys, and they if that's not enough, they decide to traffic people and keep them prisoner. How does that? Is there like an MO that you've seen amongst these kinds of people? Is there? There's got to be a way that they all do it similarly, in terms of how they, get the women. They probably get it from the same supplier, not to sound like, it's like a meat supplier.
Yeah. With that group, Epstein, John Casablancas, who's the former owner of Elite Modeling Agency, and Adnan Khashoggi, that bunch with the modeling agency. Trump had a modeling agency too.
Right.
And their whole deal with the HB1 visas, importing these young girls as little as 12 years old, stacking up in these model apartments, 8 to an apartment in bunk beds. They have their pattern, okay? But in my work, I see sex trafficking and human trafficking and mind control over people, husbands controlling their wives or their girlfriends' minds and keeping them prisoner in the home. I run into that all the time.
Okay.
Especially people with mental illness, and there's no one out there helping these people. Whatever you guys think, you call the police and get help for this person. These women, they call the police, they get arrested. Okay.
Right.
They have mental illness. They have
drug addiction. There's
drug addictions. Right. And you've seen this stuff in your travels. I probably see a little more than the average person. But so human trafficking and this kind of sex trafficking, it goes on with the poor. We just went the other day. We went to a Goodwill. We were going thrift shopping.
Right.
And right out in front of the place, there was a pimp hitting on these girls, trying to get one of these young girls going in and out of the Goodwill place to be his new victim.
Wow.
So it's on all day long.
Oh my God! So basically, they find these women, like in foreign countries that are poor, and is that how they get these model women from different countries that they're just poor and they've promised them, a life of leisure, and then they fly them around? Is that how it works?
Donald Trump and Trump Modeling Management, who was making $3 million a year, he was 95% owner. Okay. And on his website, he talked about importing girls as young as 12 years old. Wow. There was a lawsuit against him by a young girl from Haiti who claimed that she made $15,000 for the year because even though she made a lot of money, they would deduct FedEx and limo drivers and makeup artists and all this kind of stuff from her. So she was living in a bunk bed with no money, no income to live on, right?
Right.
In this apartment provided for her. Now, when there was a lawsuit over that, they discovered that out of Donald Trump and all his golf courses, all his billions and this and that, all the stuff he does, the majority of his HB1 visa applications applied to these young teenage girls he was importing from out of the country to be Trump models.
And how many of them? Yeah. How many would they do?
You know what? I wish I had the time to really get in there and do the Information Act and do the request, the document request, and find out. If there's somebody out there wants to hire me to do that for you, I'd be happy to. I'm working on another project right now where there was a Maximum Golf article around 2001 where this reporter embedded himself with Donald Trump, and he reports later on. He published the article. They wouldn't let him put a lot of stuff in there. But later on, he reports that he was on Trump's plane with Trump and Melania. They held up the plane on the runway waiting for Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell to show up, and when they did, they brought with them a teenage girl onto the plane.
Oh, my God.
Okay, so all this talk about people who don't know what they're talking about, saying that, well, Trump never went to the islands, he never went to Pedo Island, he never flown on the plane. All these crimes took place in Manhattan. These crimes took place in Palm Beach, walking distance from Mar-a-Lago.
Right.
The first victim, main victim who's involved in all these lawsuits, Virginia Roberts Giuffre, was an employee. She was an employee at Mar-a-Lago when Jeffrey Epstein's girlfriend procurer, Ghislaine Maxwell, found her there in the ladies' locker room folding towels and brought her over to Epstein for prostitution purposes.
Wow.
Okay? Child sex trafficking. All these characters were in this up to their neck.
Wow. So so they were all just connected, and Jeffrey was like the kingpin of all this stuff, sort of.
Well, I don't think you know what? Everyone tries to make him out to be the big kingpin and the center of all this. Now that if Khashoggi was involved, Epstein was working for Khashoggi. Khashoggi is much more powerful than Epstein ever could be.
Right.
So Epstein, I don't think, but he does have intelligence connections. Jeffrey Epstein does. Mossad, I know that. Vicky Ward just reported that one of the reasons that Alexander Acosta, who was the prosecutor down there in Florida, did not prosecute and gave him that sweetheart deal, was because he was told that Epstein had intelligence. He was part of the intelligence community, and it was hands off. I believe that as well.
Oh, wow.
I believe that there's a lot of that involved in this. I was contacted by the Mossad.
Have you worked for the Mossad before?
My investigations of this stuff. So I definitely believe that there's a lot of connection, and also to a lot of the reporting you see out there in these magazines and these books and stuff like that. A lot of that is produced by the other side. They're produced by the guys protecting Epstein, by the guys protecting Trump, by the guys protecting Clinton, and they're putting out these stories. Because like we said before, about 20 minutes ago, I was the investigator in the lawsuit. I know firsthand what went on in real life. And then I read these articles and these stories in magazines and books, and they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
They make stuff up. They just make stuff up, or they hear a little hunch about something, and they think they know when they report just whatever they want to, basically.
They make up stuff with an agenda. Now, there's the other cool people, these YouTubers and these nuts over there just making stuff up.
Right. Like the aliens are coming down and bringing the women from space to Jeffrey Epstein's house. So no one really. So we think he just worked. So basically, you think he's the Saudi guy's bitch, and that's why he has a lot of stuff on both of them. So that's why he's been getting away with all this for that long. Jeffrey Epstein, Khashoggi has power. Like he's kind of been working with that situation.
Here's what I think. I think Epstein is a blackmailer. He was a blackmailer from Bear Stearns days, from Dalton School days. I think that's how he made his way up there.
Like a blackmail, right? That's why he's like, I got something on you, the headmaster. Right. I got something on you, and people like hire me. I'll, mess your life up. But so he's like a bit of a sociopath too. I'm assuming.
Keep in mind, okay, I'm a private investigator. I have clients that have been blackmailed, and I've dealt with their blackmailers for them. Right. So blackmailing is a ballsy move. You got to have serious balls to blackmail somebody. You have to have backup and serious backup behind you. You can't just say, hey, I got this letter and I got a picture of you doing this next, because the guy will come and kill you or come and beat you up and take that letter back, kick your door in with a bunch of guys. You hire a motorcycle gang to go down there and get my stuff out of your house.
Right.
Okay, you're no longer blackmailing me, friend. Good luck to you. Okay? That happens all the time. I've been on both sides of that, too, where the guy, my client has information on somebody else and got his door kicked in and got stuff taken away from by off-duty cops. Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So blackmail is a balls move. It's a big balls move. And Jeffrey Epstein did not do that on his own. He had some kind of backup for that.
He had to have a lot of it. He had a lot of safety. He had to have like protection, both physically, and logistically, and then also, had good stuff on people. Juicy
he had to
stuff.
have some kind of intelligence backup backing him up, or organized crime backup. Maybe Weston's connection to organized crime could have been it.
Right.
I don't know. But it seems like he's getting payoffs for information that he has on people. That just appears to be one of the deals. Vicky Ward just reported recently that he was working for Adnan Khashoggi locating stolen funds. People had stolen money from Khashoggi, and he hired Epstein to locate those funds. Now, I locate stolen funds. I locate hidden assets. It's one of the things I do. I can do asset searches and find I can find Stacey Prussman, all your bank accounts with all your balances.
Oh, wow. Good luck. You want to add some money in there? Because I'd appreciate that.
You're talking to the wrong guy. Okay.
when you're locating my bank account, you maybe you could do me a favor and put a couple hundred, okay? If you're going to go through the trouble of finding the
I'll blow the
$55
dust
I
off
have in
your-
it.
I'll blow the dust off your savings account. What do you call it? But the thing is, if he's blackmailing people at high levels in finance and banking and stuff like that, then he has access to that information, and that's how he can go and get it. Because otherwise, how is he getting it? That's a good question.
Of course, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's interesting. So he was like, so this guy's basically, do you think he's like a sociopath? Like come and get me kind of guy, the one that Leonardo DiCaprio, or he's not, is he smart? Is Jeffrey Epstein like just a shrewd, smart guy, or he's just a sicko? I mean, obviously a sicko.
Yeah, Vicky Ward said when she was dealing with him, he wasn't that bright. You wonder why is he hanging out with all these brilliant folks and visiting with them? Like, you wonder.
Like it doesn't make sense almost. Like it's like, why would the hell would they? You ever see a group of people and there's a guy or girl and you're like, why is that? Like, how did she end up with these people? Like it seems like that's the kind of situation. It's like, how did he end up? In that situation, why are they giving him so much attention, and why are they giving him so much power, or why are they giving him money or jobs? Like, what did he do to ingratiate?
Well, I think he was supplying young girls. I think it was one of
that was his whole thing. So the Clintons too, yeah. Hillary, and like even when with these powerful couples, I guess and people, powerful human people, like so they just take these young girls. They couldn't find them on their own.
That's a good question too. You think they would find them on their own?
It's not
right?
that hard, I'm sure. I mean, if you want to be a pedophile, you don't need a pedophile pimp. You can just do it on your own.
Yeah, put a Craigslist. Open up a Craigslist there. You can get a dozen girls. But the thing is, with a couple of things. First, he asked me if he was a sociopath.
Yes.
So, one of the search warrants, they found a book, his Amazon book list, and one of the book was how to use mind control to create a sex slave.
Oh my God, that must have been an independently produced book. It must have been like somebody wrote it. For $1.99, he must have.
He's also he's into like a lot of occult artwork, bizarre stuff. Like when you walk into his mansion in Manhattan, which is the second most expensive mansion in Manhattan, right next door to a Bill Cosby.
Oh God!
And by the way, too,
that's weird.
All the shenanigans going on. He has all these little girls going in and out of his house, and Bill Cosby is dragging drugged women out there and throwing them into cabs. Right?
That's weird.
I don't know if you've ever been there, but there's a little police hut right in front of their house.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Where does he live? The Upper East Side or the Upper West Side?
Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you.
Okay.
But I've seen it, though. I've been there, and I've seen that there's a little police hut right there in the median of the traffic there. You've seen those in Manhattan. Where the little cop sits there
maybe, because it's expensive.
Keeps the rain off his head.
So what happened? So you think that they just didn't see it?
Well, what happens is with these guys, like,
they do it in a way in the back. There's a back entrance, and there's all this stuff.
No. What happens at that level? I worked with a guy. Okay, he was a cop, and because I've worked with cops. My partner was a cop, a very big shot cop in New York, NYPD Harbor Aviation. So we've worked with cops too. And there was this cop. I'll tell you, he later went on to work for Donald Trump as Trump's head of security, Keith Schiller. And Keith Schiller, what he would do when he was a cop, he would provide security. So he would hire 150 cops to go work at a funeral procession, to show up there with the bagpipes and all that kind of stuff like that. Because these rich billionaires, the specific guy he had this fetish to have a bunch of cops show up with the bagpipes and all that stuff like that at his friends' funerals.
Oh, wow.
So you got a guy like that hiring hundreds and hundreds of cops every week after week after week. You wield a lot of power. So, I'm not saying Keith Schiller himself was involved in that kind of stuff.
Right.
But that stuff goes on left and right, where you have a lot of power. So you can tell that cop, hey, keep your mouth shut, because it's a very important client of mine. You didn't see anything, Right.
Also, I mean, people don't, like, if you see people going in now, they do it, I'm sure, in a way that doesn't look suspicious. Or, or maybe I'm wrong. Or they're like, go fuck yourself. I don't care what you do.
Because dragging half asleep women out of his house and throwing them into a cab. I don't know. There's many explanations for that. Or people talking about, visiting Epstein's house and seeing little girls, 13-year-old girls walking in and out in school uniforms and stuff like that. What's the innocent explanation for that?
His daughter, his friend. Yeah, I mean, how old is Jeffrey Epstein?
Now he's old. He's like 67, 66.
Okay. Like oh, he is old. Yeah. So, I couldn't tell how old he was. And how long has he been doing this for? And was he ever married or anything like that? Like, what's his?
He had a relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell, who was the daughter of Robert Maxwell, who's a fascinating character himself with Mossad and intelligence connection. Also, too, did a Ponzi scheme in the UK, was murdered and found on a yacht.
Oh.
Ghislaine was a helicopter pilot, and she's up to her neck in all this kind of stuff. All the allegations was that she was had pornography on her phone, and she was the one who was recruiting these young girls and bringing her over to Epstein. Just recently, Alan Dershowitz, his lawyer, and one of Epstein's attorneys, who was a Harvard law professor, who's a spokesperson for Clinton, he was accused, too, of being involved in all this and being there in the room while Jeffrey Epstein's getting sex from these young girls.
Wow.
So Dershowitz, there was a lawsuit back in...
There's no shame. Like, no one... There's
no shame, and there's no one questioning Dershowitz on this on live TV when he comes on as a guest. About 3 years ago, Dershowitz had a lawsuit with Virginia Roberts' attorney, Brad Edwards. They had the mutual lawsuits back and forth for defamation, all kind of crap. One night they settled, right? And Dershowitz puts out this press release saying, "I'm very happy with this settlement. I'm glad I settled. They accused me of all this stuff, but now there's a settlement." Turns out now, when Virginia Roberts grew free is suing Dershowitz, they put in a complaint. They put in the complaint there that in that previous lawsuit, Dershowitz paid to settle. Alan Dershowitz was accused of child rape, and he paid to settle that lawsuit.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
And no one's talking about it.
That's big.
And no one's talking about it.
Wow.
It's a 24-hour news story right now, and no one's talking about that.
Why do you think that is? No one cares, or do you think it's just like...
You know what?
I told you before. We're bombarded? Do you think we're just bombarded with like these stories that everything just sort of melds together?
There's a lot that's not talking about. Yesterday, I was being interviewed by the UK Sun and the Daily Mail.
Right.
Before that, I was the Daily Beast the day before that. I talked to these reporters, and they don't know half the stuff I'm telling them. They don't know it. And now they want to hire me to do the work for them.
Wow.
So when I worked on previous cases, like the Tiger Woods case, like I told you, like Wienergate, like the Charlie Sheen case, these year-long 24-hour news stories.
You know, Wiener grew up near here, too. He was like my, when I was a kid, he would be giving out pamphlets that he was running for something. This is like when he was running for the local council, whatever it was. Yeah, PS 216. That's he's from this neighborhood where I grew up, and another Brooklyn guy. You know, like sort of similar background.
Well, and we knew about him with teenage girls years ago. No one ever did anything about it. But the thing is I've worked on these big 24-hour news stories before. This is just the latest one, and I love it. It's great. It really feels good, even though it's a disgusting case. But I feel good that I had a part in getting the snowball rolling and a little part, in getting it to rest. Now, but the thing is, there's stuff that goes on behind the scenes that never makes it to the front page news, and a lot of it has to do with press agents and talent agents and stuff like that who can keep things quiet. They owe deals to other people. You know how that works.
I'll give you this if you don't shut this story down. Like Ray Donovan, like the show Ray Donovan, like he did that stuff.
Right.
The media and the protecting people and covering stuff up. Yeah, it's all it's based on something real. That show.
This is like back, especially with Tiger Woods and Charlie Sheen. We would get a story in the morning.
Which story with Charlie Sheen? Which story? Because he has a lot of stories that he went crazy. And what was the big story with him?
Well, my case with Charlie Sheen was Capri Anderson, the girl that he attacked in the hotel room in Manhattan.
Right. Okay, I forgot that story.
But then, once we were involved in it, because my attorney was the attorney that was suing him, and my agent was the agent that was representing Capri Anderson, and even Brooke Mueller there for a while, too. That was a whole shady situation. But the thing is, you'd get a story in the morning, say, hey, by tonight this is going to be all over the news, and you'd hear this shocking story.
Right.
And then by the end of the night, hey, what's going on with that? Oh, we're not doing that anymore. Keep it quiet.
Really?
Okay.
Does that happen often? Yeah, does that happen often with stuff that you've worked on or heard about?
What was that?
Did that happen often? That you see them shutting a story down?
It happened. Oh yeah, man. You have no idea. Especially back when I was working with that bunch, I don't as much anymore. I've kind of like moved above it, But the thing is, and my own deal is going now. But the thing is, yeah, that would happen all the time. Yeah, go pick up this girl and get her a polygraph. We got this story. She got this pop star. She got pregnant by this pop star. Get her down here quick. We're going to get her. And then by the end of the night, oh, no, nothing. Go away.
Wow,
someone got paid off. She got a big settlement. She got a big payoff. Because I saw the polygraph. I know she got pregnant. I see the belly. Yeah. But I don't know. Ed, shut up. Go ahead. Here's
Oh, interesting. So
Oh yeah.
some of it's like just like silly stuff, and some of it's like really dark and criminal stuff. It goes from one end to the other. In the type of
Yeah,
things you
yeah. It's
investigate.
yeah. A lot of people. You know, what was I thinking about? There was. Oh yeah, when that guy um Borat. You know who I'm talking about? Borat.
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, that guy. When he was doing one of
Sacha
this, he
Baron
uncovered.
Cohen. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Sacha Baron Cohen. Yeah, he was doing that series, and he uncovered a VIP host here in Las Vegas, saying he could bring him teenage girls and teenage boys, and that was all covered up. That never made it to out into the public.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. There's a couple articles about it, and even too, the girl who accused David Copperfield of attacking her. I did a whole show about that too as well. She and by the way too, there was another girl too that was a teen Miss USA who was a teen pageant girl here, lived in here in Vegas too,
Okay.
who had the same allegation, but she wasn't. It was past the statute of limitations. We couldn't go after that one. But the girl, she goes after Copperfield. She makes these allegations. Then she gets raped in a hotel by another guy, by a different guy.
Wow.
And they says, oh, well, she's a prostitute. She was asking for it, and they just closed the case. So these guys have a lot of power. They have a lot of lawyers, a lot of political influence. And they could, if a witness comes forward, they can kind of mess up your life too. You really have to have a team around you who knows what they're doing to get you through this kind of stuff.
That's interesting. So sometimes they want to come forward, but they can't because they're obviously the person they're accusing has a huge amount of influence in both law enforcement and maybe courts, and then they can't come forward. And if they have if someone like me or something had to make an allegation, I couldn't. They would go dig my past up. Maybe they'd find something terrible. They won't, but they'd find something terrible, and then I would make me look hard I'm not valid witness. Like my story doesn't count, and I think that's why.
But
yeah,
that's why you want to avoid all that. See, if you just do it yourself and you try and hire some lawyer that doesn't do this all the time, it could become a big sticky mess where it's out in the public. The way you want to handle that, if you're a victim of this kind of crime, you want to come to me, okay, and I'll get you the lawyer. Trust me, I'll put together the case for you. I'll do a case summary. I'll find you the lawyer, and then we contact them with a notice, an intent to sue. You don't file a suit right away. You get the settlement before you sue. Everything's kept nice and quiet, and you get your payoff. Everybody goes their own way.
Right. Okay. Interesting. So basically, how many? I mean, at what point do people just have to? You have to pay off. How many people are getting paid off all the time then? And then we never hear about what's really going on.
Oh, every day. You kidding me? Every day with these. That was a lot of money, man, in Hollywood, Disney, and all these studios and stuff like that. They're making these settlements all the time.
Right, because people are getting Me Too'd, and it's easier to pay someone off than to.
Charlie Sheen. Before it came out that Charlie Sheen had AIDS and he was bisexual, there was a lawsuit against him, a settlement, $3 million settlement with Charlie Sheen.
Wow. Does anyone know how he contracted AIDS exactly? Was it through sex or through it shooting up? No one knows.
I couldn't understand.
Did they find out how he contracted HIV or AIDS? Was it through sex? Or,
I don't know. Well, yeah,
needles.
He had a lot of men partners, a lot of homosexual partners.
Yeah, but I have friends that they use condoms and stuff. They don't get AIDS, and so I guess he was just free for all, Charlie.
If you look into his background, there's a lot of stuff with him that's very disgusting. If you look in the whole situation, his lawsuits, his custody battles, and a divorce case with Denise Richards.
Right.
She accuses him of having child pornography on his computer and stuff like that. And he doesn't have visits with his kids. He has supervised visits.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Wow. Yeah. So a lot of this stuff goes on. Nobody knows.
Right. It's very upsetting. So you investigate this stuff, and how do you go about something like that? Like, where do you start? Like with the email, with the forensic.
That's the Smoking Gun has it on the internet. You can find the court documents, the divorce documents before they were sealed.
No,
but even with this Epstein case, back to Epstein for a second.
Yeah. Let's go back to him.
You wonder why things aren't reported, right? And then you find out that right after his conviction, when he got out of his sweetheart jail deal, right, we only did nights and weekends at this cushy jail where he had donated money to the sheriff's department down there, and where he had a private wing that was still under construction. He was the only prisoner in there. When he gets out of that, he has a party at his mansion in Palm Beach. Who does he invite? Katie Couric, George Stephanopoulos. these kind of people. He's hanging out with Woody Allen.
But why are these people hanging out with him? That's the thing I don't like. Like if I knew this guy, like these people don't need to go to parties to network. You know, like these celebrities don't need to be around these people. You know, like especially people like the women. Like it doesn't make sense. Like I'm thinking, if I was a celebrity, like I wouldn't go to that guy's a scumbag. I don't need to go to his party. You know, I'm just thinking if I was like had more money and more prestige and I was famous, I probably would have been like, that guy's a scumbag. Who needs his party? I have my own money.
Well, you know,
it's true.
I hear it, but that's your morals and ethics, and that's my morals and ethics, and that's definitely not theirs. You know, because if before he was arrested, when you went to visit his Palm Beach mansion, there were pictures of nude young girls in frames on the walls. This is a statement after statement after statement of naked teenage girls photographed in frames all over his walls. Now, somehow he got tipped off he was going to be a search warrant. They were going to execute a search warrant, and he took it all down.
Wow. So there's pictures of probably people in front of these pictures.
Right. One more thing about so anybody in there who witnessed child pornography, anybody who walked in there, but like Stephanopoulos and Katie Couric. But now one thing, too, is we talk about the media and why they don't report on this stuff. At my website, OppermanReport.com, I have a members section. I have an interview in there with a man named Henry Vinson. Not Vincent, Henry Vinson. And he wrote a book called Confessions. Vinson, yeah. He wrote a book called Confessions of a D.C. Madam. Now, he was not the other madam, not the Palfrey madam, who had a fascinating story herself. I have her phone logs and stuff on my website. And I've interviewed her lawyer many times. Not the one that did the suicide in the shed. This is a homosexual madam who was supplying young boys for a blackmail ring in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
And he went to prison for this. He has no reason to make this up. This guy, I mean, I have by the way, my interview with him is exclusive. He's afraid to do interviews. He's timid. He doesn't like to do interviews. I have an exclusive interview with this man. He talks about in his book and in my interview that he would throw parties there in Washington, D.C., and people like Ted Koppel would come to the party. The biggest people in the news industry would come to his parties and see people using young children as escorts.
Wow.
Okay? Wow. So why don't they report on this? Maybe because they're just as stinking and filthy and as dirty as this guy is. And just like Jared Fogle is. And maybe a lot of these people are covering up for each other because they got the same interests.
So you think there's this one big child pornography ring going on, and then everyone's in on it?
I think
or little ring, or mini rings are different.
Yeah. All right, you got the guys over in the Catholic Church down there in Pennsylvania, right? Uh-huh. Now, when they did that grand jury investigation down there, they found 1,000 victims, 200 priests, they all got away with it. Now, you can't read the whole grand jury report, but there's a cover letter for it. There's a supplementary summary at the beginning. It's only about 20 pages. You can read that. And if you can read that and not throw up, man, I take my hat off to you. Because you read that stuff in there where this grand jury says, hey, we're simple people, man, but this is important, and we need to write the summary for you so you understand what the hell happened down here.
Oh
and it's incredible. Those priests down there were 24 hours a day doing nothing else but targeting little boys and creating pornographic films of these little boys and passing them around amongst each other in an organized effort. This was their sole focus, was going after these little kids. They weren't doing charity work or whatever.
Yeah. They weren't praying for your grandmother.
You got that. You got the Washington, D.C., you got the Hollywood groups. There's all different groups, but they all seem to have this fascination with this perversion.
Wow. So child pornography is like, I guess it's more rampant than people realize. Like I have a story. There was somebody we knew. This is actually a weird story. There's a friend of my friend's. I went to the house. It was a dinner party, and it was a roommate of a friend. It was a woman and a male roommate. And the male roommate, we go to this party. Literally the next day, his picture is all over Times Square. Now, I've never seen this. Have you seen this guy wanted for pedophilia? I mean, all over from the police. I guess he got busted. He ran out of town. Literally the next day, and he would never have suspected it. He was like a really nice person. Like he was like very friendly, and he was like a pedophile. He was working in a daycare. I don't know what he was, and he was trying to fool around with the kids that he was working for. Working, but babies and like really disgusting stuff. And they were looking, and he left on the train and never came back. And it was very upsetting because I saw him. And I didn't know the guy that well. He was a friend. He was my friend's friend roommate, whatever. And next day I know he's like caught in this major pedophilia ring. And there's this whole ring. And he escaped out of New York, and they never found him. And he is probably being protected by other pedophiles. That's what they think happened.
Yeah, it seems like they have the ability to get fake IDs and stuff like that within their rings, within their circles. Because I was on this internet station, and it turned out that the guy who was working there, he got busted because he was a fugitive and child pornography. No, he got busted because they caught him with trading new child pornography.
Okay.
But then after that, they discovered that he had been busted for child pornography when he was in the Marines. He got an honorable discharge from that. Then he went to live with a family, and he raped their toddler. This toddler he raped. And he got away from that, and he went on the lam, got fake ID, went to live with other people with also connections with this kind of activity. But they seem to be able to get out of jams, you know. This guy gets out of the
of course
the military with an honorable discharge after being caught with child pornography.
Blackmail.
No charges.
They have
right, blackmail. And what about this guy, John Mark Carr, the guy who confessed to the John Benet Ramsey murder? This guy would have charges on him. He was on the lam, too. He had charges on him for child pornography, and the police department sold his computer with the evidence on it. You know?
My God.
I was talking to another investigator who was involved in that case. I said, when's the last time you heard, man, of a case like that where the pivotal evidence is the laptop, and they're going to sell that evidence, man? No one heard of this. It never happened.
Oh, my
But
God.
it happened in that case. Yep.
That's unbelievable. That's crazy.
It's one thing after another. These stories are too hard to believe.
Are there do you see connections between the stories? Like, do you ever see sort of how this one's connected, even though it's not connected? But do you see the connections in between these pornography stories and stuff?
It's a small world for sure. It's a small world for sure. Here you got this guy John Mark Carr. He's involved in all this weird stuff. He was also connected to Richard Allen Davis, that guy who attacked Polly Klaas, Mark Klaas's daughter. Then it turns out to be there's a connection, too, to all that, to this recent allegations against Dr. Keith Abloh. I don't know if you're following that, the former Fox contributor who was doing all kind of S&M stuff with his patients, and he just got his...
Okay.
Oh, yeah, got it. It's kind of hush-hush at the moment. So the guy who put that case together got ripped off by the lawyers, okay?
Wow.
Who kind of screwed things up after that. That's what I hear on the grapevine. But he's losing his license. His license is under suspension right now, and I've seen all the evidence in that case. It's horrific.
Wow, that's so interesting. Wow, it's just unbelievable. Like, people just don't. They think they can get away with anything. Like, people think they can get away with.
Well, like you said, it's a small world. It's just, because who would ever think Abloh, Mark Carr? What's the connection? Richard Allen Davis. What's the connection to all these things? John Benet Ramsey, but. I guess when you're traveling these kind of circles, you kind of meet other people with the same interests. Maybe you don't do it together, but you kind of know each
it's
other.
Interesting. It's interesting you say that because a couple of months ago I was asked to do comedy at a swingers convention. They have it every once a month or something. Swingers convention, or not convention, like a get together. There's like about 200 people, and I just did stand up, but it's like. Swingers, they don't all know each other, but they all run in certain circles, so they'll
right.
Like you could see there'll be the connections, like this in this life. It's called a lifestyle, I guess. So these particular people probably, may not know all of each other, but they go, oh, I heard of that couple. They do this and that. It's probably the same thing in these kinds of weird pedophile circles. Like they probably are connected. There's probably groups that they all sort of connect in some way. There's there's drawbridges.
When I was a kid living in New York in my early 20s, there used to be a place in the Galleria on 54th Street, I think it was, where you had a safe deposit box business where you could go in there and get a safe deposit box with no name, just a secret box, and you pay in cash. It was untraceable.
Okay.
And right outside of there was this bar, and in the Galleria there, and all the guys at that bar were all con men. They were all drug dealers and con men. Everyone hanging out at the same place, and you'd kind of know each other. Everyone kind of knew each other. Yeah, or even drug dealers. All drug dealers will hang at the same club, in town, and they see each other at the end of the club. They don't talk to each other, but they know gossip about each other.
It's like comedians. Yeah. They all know. We all I went to a party last night, and there was like a million comics there, of different groups, but they all kind of know each other, even though they don't all like
Right.
sort of, they know, oh, that guy does this kind of humor, he has a development deal, that guy sucks, that guy is this way, this girl's that way, like their deal. Like you may not know them personally and talk to them like one on one, but that what they're into, like, or
Well,
what they're
what about you?
about.
Did you know that about Louis C.K. and Cosby and stuff?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's. I mean,
Yep.
the Cosby and Louis C.K. are a little bit different. I mean, Cosby was just like ridiculously,
Right.
like criminal. I mean, Louis, I think, was just more of misconduct, but not, the best behavior, obviously, but not, he's not drugging people. And like, I don't know. I mean, did Cosby have like sexual intercourse with people? Or we don't like what what did he exactly do? Like I mean, I know he molested them.
Yeah,
Like
he would get them, like, he'd give them drugs. Even sometimes he could put them on Quaaludes and stuff like that. Then he would rape them. Yeah, he'd date rape.
I'm
Yeah.
surprised he
So
never
they
had
go
like a
amok, yeah.
medical emergency. Like I know, like with the drug, like if you drug somebody, you don't know what drugs are on or what they're allergic to. Like how would he like not? How would they not have a medical emergency or something, or an overdose?
You know something?
That's
I know someone who was in
one question I have
Cosby's.
about that story.
Yeah, I know someone who was in Cosby's mansion there, right next to Epstein's mansion, for just doing some security type work. And one thing he mentioned to me was it was like a maze. The hallways was like a maze. Like once you were upstairs in the pool room where a lot of stuff went on, to find your way back out of that house, it was like it
wasn't
a chore.
easy. It wasn't like going down the stairs and you're out, right?
Right. He would have people come down and meet you at the front door and then take them up, through this maze, And plus, if you're doing that on purpose, you can kind of walk around in a circle a couple of times if they really can't find their way out. So, what if there's a medical emergency? You're right. But Epstein just did a whole thing where he brought this equipment up to shred the carpets in his house and to tear up the tiles. He imported it from his island down there in the Virgin Islands.
Wow. Just
so,
to cover up stuff.
Who knows what's going on with these guys?
That's so interesting. Yeah, it is. It's fascinating what people do. I mean, it's not hard to cover up evidence if you know you're being looked at, right? I would say. I mean, when you do an investigation like this, like how you do, is it like following the money trail? Like, what do you do first when you're doing a big investigation? Like, how do you sort of like start?
You want to talk to people. Well, you find lawsuits. You find does this guy have any kind of criminal record, right? It depends on what the case is. You find if they have a criminal record, are they on probation? Do they have warrants? Are they on parole? If you have something like that, now you have a huge lever over him because you could just call his parole officer and get the guy violated.
Right.
You want to check and see if they got a criminal record. You want to see if they have lawsuits. If they have a lot of lawsuits with people, an ex-wife, you pull up those records. You see that. Where's the dirt? Maybe I can talk to the ex-wife. Will she talk to me? Here's a witness that was against him in the case. Maybe he reconciled with the wife, but the witness didn't reconcile with him. They talked to the witness who was a witness in his custody case or his divorce case. Okay. You dig up the dirt. Employers that fired them, people they owe money to. You find that. The guy's got a judgment against them, a lien against, even a business partner, something like that. You find those people.
Gotcha.
And you talk to them. That's the first thing you do. But the biggest thing, too, the biggest leverage you got here in America, because 25% of the population is either on parole, probation, or some kind of a court-ordered supervision.
Oh, really? Interesting. I didn't know that.
Everyone gets arrested here. Everyone's got a record. So if you got that, man, that's gold. I had a case. I'll tell you one, right, real quick. It was that online infidelity investigation I do where a wife will give me her husband's email address. I trace it back to online dating websites. So I trace this way back. I trace it back to a MySpace account, this email address. I find it on MySpace. And I'm looking at this woman's friends, and I see there's a picture of this biker. And I said, why would this woman be friends with this biker? This doesn't make sense at all. These aren't that type of people. So I click on the biker, and I'm going through his pictures, and I see a picture of my client's daughter holding a gun. Okay?
Oh, my God.
A real gun, like a 35 automatic. I said, what the hell is this? So I print it out. I show it to the guy. I go, look at this, man. And we say the ex-wife was taking her kid over to this biker for smoking meth with this guy and stuff like that, and the kid's playing with a gun.
Oh, my God.
It turns out, Stacey, it's not illegal to have a 5-year-old holding a gun.
Oh, my God.
Them guns. Yeah, right. That's illegal. That's not child endangerment. You know what we got him on?
What?
Probation violation. A convicted felon in possession of a firearm. That's how we got this guy violated and thrown back in prison, which was good enough for me.
That's good. But crazy.
If you don't have that, he's walking around. He's doing whatever he wants.
So you have
guys.
People like, so you basically will take someone's email and then just find how are you able to, like, is that how are you able to get into dating site? Is that not private? Like,
Okay. No, here's how that works. When I was being stalked back in around 1987.
you were being stalked.
No, it was I was being stalked online. Cyber
By
stalked.
who? A woman?
I was involved in a lawsuit, the Art Bell lawsuit. Art Bell, the radio host, was suing these people who were harassing him, and I was a witness for him. I tried to help him negotiate his lawsuit there. In fact, I did help negotiate the settlement there. And some guys found out my name, and they started stalking me online. So I went around to all my old PI friends. I said, well, how do you trace an email back to the guy that's stalking you? How do you do this? And they said, there's no way to do it. So I sat down, I thought about it, and I invented a way to locate and identify somebody from an email. This is back in the early 90s. No one was doing this. This is cutting edge. It was unheard of. So I was doing more with emails than anybody else in the world. I would go to these PI conventions and these digital forensics training seminars, and when the subject of emails would come up, the guy giving the class would say, well, we got Ed Opperman here. Let's ask him.
Wow.
I said, what do you mean? I'm sitting here, man. I'm not even paying attention to what you're talking about. I'm not going to take over your class for you. Okay? But I'm doing more with emails than anybody was at the time, so I came up with a method that I could trace those emails back to online dating websites.
How?
And,
what's the method?
Right, and I could find...
Are you allowed to tell?
If Stacey Prussman's boyfriend has a dating site, a website, a personal ad, I can find the site.
All right.
And I could expand, I could find the ad and come back and report it back to you.
All right, I might have an email for you. Okay.
It's cheap, too. It's $60, man.
Oh, wow. So basically, so if you don't think your boyfriend is like, or girlfriend is being faithful and they're on sites, but like they can use a fake email, like some weird phony email.
Oh, they could, right. They could, but usually they don't, though. Usually they use their regular email. But even if they use a fake email, they create a new email, I can also locate and find secret email accounts as well.
What is that? How do you do that? What is that? What do you mean? How do you locate a secret email account? Like, what is that? Was that software? Like, what is that? Just traces back to the doxing people?
No. What you do is, okay, years and years and years of being in this business, you develop informants and sources within the ISP, or within, let's say, a big site like eBay, right? You got a friend in there, right, and who can take a look at all the email addresses and see what IP addresses they're associated with, and you can give them an IP address or an email address, and they can come back to you for $20 and say, hey, yeah, this is who it's attached to.
Right.
You know, like the average. Now, I'm not saying I have that in eBay going on. I don't know anybody at eBay, but there's big giant companies like that everybody knows about. Craigslist, eBay, Amazon. If you've got a couple of friends in there, okay, and I'm 57 years old. I've been doing it a long time.
Wow.
A lot of people come to me with this kind of information. So there's that. But there's also other ways, too. You can trick people into identifying themselves. You'd be shocked.
Just so fascinating. Well, this has been a great interview. I mean, tell everyone where they could find you and all that. If they can get in touch with you for investigations or for email tracing. Right?
If you don't have a headache from listening to me yell into the microphone here, Monday to Friday, 10 p.m., you can catch me on KYAH 540 AM in Utah and KCAA 1050 AM. And there's a couple of FM frequencies, too, for KCAA. 10 p.m., Monday to Friday. It's a huge, 15, 20 cities in California. It covers a big, giant signal.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I got a nice big coverage. Now, you can find me on iHeartRadio, iTunes. The best place to find me, though, if you want to listen to my archives and look up for my old shows, is Spreaker, SPREAKER.com. And go there, find Opperman Report Show. You'll follow the show for free, and you can look at all my old shows. I got 1,000 shows on there. It's 1,500 shows, all about Epstein and Charlie Sheen, all these topics we're talking about.
That's amazing. Well, this is fascinating.
I know.
I think we could talk for 3 more hours about 10 more. I've never, I love this type of stuff. I think people are very interested in this as well, like, in terms of like.
I got a member section, too, at OppermanReport.com. We have additional exclusive interviews and documents, court documents. I got all the Jeffrey Epstein court docs, the Trump University documents and stuff like court documents, all kinds of stuff in the videos at OppermanReport.com member section. And then if you want PI work from me, you can find me at emailrevealer.com, and I do adoption investigations, asset searches, locates, digital forensics, all kinds of stuff there too as well.
Oh wow!
And I got a TV show coming up.
You do? Wait.
I sent you the clip.
Yeah. I couldn't get on. You have to. The code didn't work. By the way, I was going to tell you. You have to send me the code. It doesn't. It's a private.
I sent you the password.
Oh, that was it. I'll try it again. I think I messed up the
You
password.
check out these guys, these cinematographers who film me, man, are geniuses. They made me look like a human being. I look like I was the guy, Brolin.
Oh, very nice. That's great.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
James
yeah,
Bond.
yeah, yeah,
Well, this has been an awesome hour talking to you, Ed. I'm so glad we got to reconnect and hope to have you
yeah.
back on. This is Deep with Stacey Prussman, and I want to thank Ed so much for being my guest here. And this will be once a week. Every Monday, we'll be having the next episode will be out Monday. And thank you so much. You'll get us on YouTube and where podcasts are found. And thank you, everybody. Thank you so much, Ed.
Thank you.
You're off the air now. That was awesome.
Yeah.